Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. And this time, I once again wish to take up yet another quote and look at it from a different lens, from a different perspective, and kindly share your views and your comments with regards to this particular quote or the essence of this quote, so that we all can keep getting better at developing our perspectives and seeing things through different lenses. So the essence of the quote that I wish to take up today is that the root cause of all human suffering is our attachments, our desires, and our expectations. Which is primarily to say that if we wish to be happy and if we wish to be satisfied, we should not desire to have any desires, which is exactly the paradox of having any desires, which is actually saying that I want not to have any desires. Uh, so, which kind of, falsifies the entire concept of desires and attachments and expectations. So, why not try and look at it from a different perspective, from a different lens? Now, it is my personal understanding, and this is my personal view, that attachment is the essence of life, that we cannot live without attachments, that are not only our physical form but our life depends on attachments. So if you understand that our basic biology also is through attachment, which is to say that when a particular sperm and an ova met, they fused together, forming one single tissue. Now, that tissue kept replicating itself, kept multiplying, and it attached itself to the mother's womb, wherein it was safe and secure. And then it started multiplying into a life form, forming an embryo and a zygote. And that embryo, that child that was growing, that life form that was growing, attached itself to the umbilical cord from which it was receiving its nourishment and its nutrition. And even when we popped out into this world, we came attached with the umbilical cord. For without it, we could not have survived. We really could not have survived even in this physical form. And if we had not received this physical form through that attachment, we would not have experienced the life that we have been given a chance to experience. And even going back to that ova and sperm, the sperm that got attached, or the sperms that got attached to ovaries, they multiplied into the life form that we are today. But those that did not get attached, they died off within the next 48 to 72 hours. So even that tiniest of things, that tiny piece of life doesn't exist without attachment. It dies. It withers away. The only fallacy when we say that suffering is the resultant of all attachments, the only fallacy is that we have not developed our capacity for emotional agility. We have not developed ourselves into saying that we are fragile creatures, but the beauty of life in itself is its fragility. That life would not have been so beautiful had it been stoic, because it would not have been life that we know of, that the way in which we experience it. It would have been some other form of life, maybe a rock like life, but it would not have been the living, breathing life that we experience it. So let's try and understand that when we say that attachment is scary because it leads to suffering, Let's also understand that when life came to us, or when we made a deal with life, we made a package deal with death as well. When we made a deal to start walking, it came with the package deal of falling. When we made a package deal to be happy, the package deal came with sadness. Laughter came with the package deal of grief. Ecstasy came with the package deal of horror. That smiles came with the package deal of tears. And life just doesn't work any other way. It does not present itself before us halfway through. The only unfortunate thing is that we are willing to deal with life halfway through. That is not life's problem. It is our problem that we are unable to cope with it. It is our problem that we fail to understand it completely. It is our problem that we are not willing to look at it completely, not address it completely. We are only willing to look at one side of the coin and say that I'm willing to deal with life halfway through. But I want and I expect complete returns, which is to say that I want to be happy, but I do not wish to be sad. It came with the package deal. Like sunlight came with the package deal of darkness. Daytime came with the package deal of night. It just doesn't work halfway until we understand it. Till we understand it, we'll forever be fighting our own demons. We'll be fighting a battle that is within our own selves and outside of ourselves as well. So let's try and stop having this fight and creating this battleground constantly. Let's try and understand that life comes in package deals. That the beauty of life is in those package deals, because if we are to say that I don't want any kind of a stress in life, that I am not willing to change, that I do not wish to transform, that I wish to remain constant, that I do not wish to experience grief and sorrow and tears or pain or heartache, well, we are invariably asking for the goals of dead people, because it is the dead people who don't experience anything. So maybe we are also in return asking that I don't wish to be happy, because I don't want to experience the other spectrum. I really can't experience the other part of the spectrum. So let's try and embrace life completely. Let's try and understand the package deal of life as much as we can. And let's try and not become resistant towards our emotions, but let's try and become more emotionally agile, more aware of our emotions, so that we are able to talk about it. Because only when we are able to talk about it, only when we are able to communicate it, we become aware of it. And only when we are aware of it can we begin understanding it. And only when we begin understanding it can we learn something about it. And only when we learn something about it can we not be afraid of it. Because when we are afraid, we keep running it, we keep pushing it, we keep shoving it aside, or we keep pushing it down. And we can only push it down and we can only shove it aside for a certain time, till it starts piling up, or till it rebounds back and hits us back in the face. So let's try and lean more towards the things that also make us uncomfortable, because maybe it is those things that make us uncomfortable, the emotions, the feelings that make us uncomfortable, may actually be the ones that help us align to our true values, to our intrinsic values that matter most to us on an individual level or maybe on a collective level. But at least we'll start aligning somewhere, for we are becoming more aware of it. For we are getting more in tune with our own selves. For we are learning more about our own selves by addressing it, by acknowledging it, so that it doesn't remain a scary thing anymore. So let's try and do that more often. We have become emotionally resistant. Let's try and become more agile. Let's try and become more open, so that life becomes more open for us, so that it doesn't remain a battleground anymore, so that we don't have to fight our own demons constantly for most parts of our lives. Or maybe even if we do have to fight, at least we fight better demons and not the same demons over and over and over again. Let's try and do that more often, and I will see you once again next week. Till then, try and become more emotionally agile.